that we are properly caffeinated. Takes a little extra to stay up late with the college guys, although they might still be up in Tuscaloosa.
If you only watch the first half of that game, there's no way you're thinking this might be one of the best games ever. Then the second half happened. Let's show you how it went down. Number 4, Alabama, a home underdog to those dogs. Number 2, Georgia.
I haven't seen Georgia lose in the regular season in a long time. We got Paul Finebaum there. We got Trevor Matich here to help us make sense of what we saw there in Tuscaloosa. Trevor, I want to start with you. How in the world was Bama able to withstand that comeback and come up with a win?
Grit, resilience, and passing. I mean, Alabama ripped off 4 straight touchdowns to open the game. And Georgia's defense was on their heels. They couldn't stop it. Georgia's offense couldn't answer. And Bama jumps out to a 28-0 lead. But Georgia was just as dominant in the second half, during a stretch when they ripped off 4 straight touchdowns, answered only by a field goal by Alabama. Now, the last 2.5 minutes decided the game. But in the second half, what Georgia did was play much tighter defense against the big play and the quarterback run, and they went to the passing game. They put it on the arm of Carson Beck. They found matchups in the secondary they liked, and, Paul, that's what brought Georgia back.
Trevor, I've covered the SEC for more than 40 years. You can see that on my face right here. But I believe that's the best college football game in the SEC I have seen during all those years. And I know we often get hung up on being prisoners of the moment, but that is an exaggeration to say that we are in this case. You saw the lead, you saw the comeback, you saw the ending. It had everything you could have, including the fact that we have the best rivalry in the SEC. That is true of both schools. Nobody left anything on the field. They put it all out there. And if you ask who's the better team won, but the next time it could be different.
Yeah, Paul, I think you're right. I can see a couple of extra lines on your forehead right now that you can always remember this game by.
Listen, that is the mouth of the South. Let's stamp that real quick. Paul Finebaum saying that is the best SEC football game he has seen in 4 decades of covering the conference. All that to say, Bama comes out with the win, heartbreak for Georgia. But, Trevor, you're saying there's a little silver lining here for the Bulldogs, some hope out of this game?
That's right. I mean, the comeback is part of it, but the last 2 plays at the end were there to be made, and Georgia will see those on tape, and they'll be sick about it. One was the 75-yard touch, or he intercepts it to seal the game. So that play was there to be made for Georgia. Not to take anything away from Ryan Williams and Jalen Milroe, but Georgia had that play. Then the sealing interception by Georgia. This ball was thrown short and inside. He had the right matchup. He had a tall senior receiver against a shorter, true freshman defender. But the ball was left a little short.
Yeah, and there's so many other aspects. I know Gary and Randy will try to push the pass interference at the end of the game. I can see it in your guys' faces, but that's talk show narrative. I'll leave that to the pundits. But in reality, it doesn't matter because it was such a magnificent setting, and I'm really torn. You go back and forth because you can make anything out of this game you want. I used to be a sports columnist, so you picked an angle and you ran with it. But Alabama ended up winning the game. That's significant because it increases, it lengthens that dominance over Alabama. And Kirby Smart, who is the best coach in college football today, has to be going, why can't I beat Alabama with Nick Saban or without him?
Yeah, no, Kalen DeBoer out of the gates here. The biggest game of his SEC career so far, and it's another Bama win over Georgia. They won 9 out of their last 10, Bama has. More from these guys throughout the morning. Paul, the pundit, and Trevor, the mountain of a Matich here on SportsCenter. Top of the latest rankings. We need our college football playoff reporter, Heather Dinich, for more on that. What about the Georgia side, though, Heather? How is the committee going to view the Bulldogs here after their first loss of the season?
Well, there is such a thing as a good loss in the selection committee meeting room, and this certainly qualifies, especially on the road against a ranked SEC opponent. And the selection committee, because the rest of the schedule is so difficult. What this did was it put Georgia in a bind with a schedule down the stretch that also includes a road trip to Texas, a road trip to Ole Miss, and a tough game against Tennessee.
More on Ole Miss here for a second, because that was another top 6 SEC team that went down yesterday. How damaging of a loss is that for Lane Kiffin's squad?
It was a huge punch in the gut to lose at home to an unranked Kentucky team. It's not the loss, though. It's the lack of wiggle room now heading into the heart of SEC play for Ole Miss. They have a tough stretch down the road, too, but they've got to be able to have a winning record when you look at the rest of their schedule. They've got LSU, Oklahoma, and Georgia. In order to impress the selection committee with such a weak non-conference schedule, they've got to get a winning record against that SEC lineup. 4 of their next 6 games are on the road. And then Utah also suffered a really damaging loss to their hopes. It's important to remember the selection committee does consider injuries to key players, so they will know that they were playing with a young quarterback with Cam Rising out, but the offense is clearly different, not as potent. And now Utah's best win against Oklahoma State, that doesn't look as good either after K-State beat the Cowboys on Saturday.
Yeah, Utah could sure use Cam Rising back. He's still dealing with that hand injury that's plagued him for the start of this season. That's Heather Dinich making us smarter on SportsCenter. Thank you, Heather. Jalen Milroe. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Someone did right here on SportsCenter.
Jalen Milroe's legs is where the huge advantage is at, is in the low red zone. And you see that with his 14 touchdowns, 8 in the air, already 6 on the ground this year. And that's double any other Alabama player as far as running touchdowns is concerned.
Huh. He's a man of the people. It's time for a Roman Forum with our Roman Harper. So, Rome, your Tide survived. It appears an Alabama gift shop threw up on you this morning. But on yesterday's show, you talked about it, how Jalen Milroe could carve up this defense with his legs. Is being fun, or rather being right, as fun as it sounds, Roman?
Well, Randy, thank you for the shout out on my coat. And to be honest with you, being right in my own house, which doesn't happen that often because I'm married, feels really good this morning. So, yes, the answer in a short way. And look, let's just be flat out honest. Jalen Milroe, his performance last night was flat out outstanding, amazing. What other word can you use? He threw for 374 passing yards, 2 touchdowns in the air, another 116 and 2 touchdowns on the ground. I talked about it earlier, how his explosiveness, his athleticism, his ability for them to scheme him up these runs in the red zone were things that Alabama had been doing and showing early, and that this was going to be a fantastic way for them to win this game. And he was, with the way his performance was. It's too early to say that that was a Heisman moment, but man, his performance last night was definitely Heisman worthy. And the other thing that I can't leave without here is Ryan Williams, the young wide receiver, the young prodigy that he is. That catch that he made, I know at the end of the game, we're going to continue to watch that highlight play because that was a special play in the moment.
Yeah.
But that post route that got tipped by Starks, he bobbled it 2 or 3 times and made that catch. I haven't seen that type of play maybe 1 or 2 times in my 20-something years of playing football.
17 years old. I mean, he said to Milroe, hey, 4 + 2, their jersey numbers equal 6. And he went up and made that catch. Listen, Georgia, though, nearly completed this comeback. It would have been the largest comeback, 28 points in school history. What is your impression now? Like, compare your impression of them now relative to what you expected of them, your impression of them going into the game last night.
Well, honestly, Randy, I'm more impressed with Georgia after this loss than I was majority of the time, or sometimes at moments before this game. You look at what they did, the way they showed grit, the way they continued to fight. It was just the way that they actually were able to be aggressive offensively. Those are the question marks that we had about this Georgia offense, was could they go out and go get points in big bunches and big chunk yardage? And they did that. And so when you go down 28-0 in the first quarter, 30-7 at halftime. In football, you get to make 2 choices when that happens. You get to quit or you get to stand up and go fight play after play. And Georgia showed that type of fight. And so I was really proud, and it was a really good moment to see, like, man, this Georgia team is something different. That's why Kirby was at the media last night with just a little bit of his shoulders up, because he knows, like, if we just start faster, we got a chance to do something great this year. All that's still out there in front of them with the 12-team playoffs.
Coach, no. Herm Edwards, you got something to say? Come on.
He's excited.
Yeah.
He needs to be excited.
He should be
That
excited.
was a heck of a football game. Even I watched college football last night watching that. But let me tell you something. Them DBs don't play the ball. That's the problem. They never look for the ball. You got to play the
It's
ball,
so
not the
frustrating.
man.
Are you talking about George's?
Yes,
Thank
they
you,
don't
Coach.
They got to turn around and play the ball.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious,
But
it's
Coach,
hard to watch.
Hey, 17 years old though coming in.
Especially 40-something yards down the field, that quarterback's not going to always be accurate. Turn around, find the ball, play the ball. Coach is right.
Coach is right. Hey, that's the last thing. That's the last thing he needed. He didn't need the confidence boost, but Roman Harper gave it to Herm Edwards. We appreciate you, Roman.
Have ever met Shedeur Sanders and the Buffs taking on UCF? Cam Newton, Travis Hunter were chopping it up pre-game.
We'll get to that in a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Just to what you said, yes, I do agree that they are a better football team this year, and they were running the football today, 128 yards rushing. What impresses me the most about Colorado right now, as you look at them, that's back-to-back games that were toss-ups that we didn't know if they were going to win. They were a double-digit underdog coming into this game.
Yeah.
That's another game, TCU last year, that they've won as double-digit underdogs, and you don't see that often from teams in the college football season. So right now, Colorado has 4 wins. The goal is what? Bowl game.
Right.
They have 7 games left. If you can at least give me 2 out of those 7, then we're going
like their
bowling.
chances.
We're going bowling, right? Next game is Kansas State. After that is Arizona. Kansas State, I like Kansas State winning that.
Yeah.
Tough one to win.
Yeah,
but I
see.
like Arizona. After that, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, then Utah. Then they got Kansas and Oklahoma State to close out the season. So I think they have a chance here to at least win 2 out of those last games.
All right, so the question I think here is, Travis Hunter's going to be in New York, right? I don't think there's really any debate about that.
I mean, if he's not in New York, I'm not watching.
And that I think a lot of people are going to say that because he, quite frankly, is doing things that we have never seen done in college football before. We have seen them tried many times, but the consistency with which he is playing both sides and the efficiency with which he is playing both sides is
service to the game if what we think is the best athlete in college football is not present that celebrates the best athlete in college football, and I don't really care if Colorado loses every football game for the rest of the season.
Yep.
If he continues to do what he did today 4 or 5 more times this season with interceptions, with big clutch catches, with touchdowns, I feel like he has to be present for it.
And here's the reason why I believe he has to be present for it, because every single Heisman has one specific characteristic that separates them from everybody else in the country. They make the entire team better.
Yes.
Right?
Wonderful game. Wonderful game. Utmost respect for Coach Malzahn. I mean, he is keeps me going, keeps me on my toes. What he's accomplished and what he's brought to college football is phenomenal. And the way he started, things he's gone through, it just inspires me tremendously. And to be on the same darn field with one of the guys that I took my son to one of his camps and was being recruited by, that offered him, and has been just straight up 100 his whole entire career, and I got love for him. But to be on the opposing side coaching against him was historic for me, and I'm thankful that I got that opportunity, and I'm thankful just to be on the same field. Football-wise, it's one of the first times that we came out and played a collective game, offensively, defensively, as well as special teams, with Mata hitting that field goal right before the half was tremendous. Just even
Give me a platform for me to display my abilities. That's all you can ask for as a dad, is always just to be there and, just have support and everything like that. But he set the stage. He did everything he was supposed to do. Now it's time for me to walk in my own path, walk on my own journey. And that's what you see game in and game out. Every game is legendary.
I saw you before the game, myself and Cam Newton marched you. Cam was damn near running at you. And I saw an attention to detail, focus that I haven't seen in a very long time in any teammate and any athlete. What is that? Where do you get that from? Knowing you got all this stuff going on, all these stars and celebrities coming at you. How do you stay focused like that?
By remembering that you was just an HBCU kid that couldn't do it on the Power 5 level. That's really what it was. I don't forget anything. I don't forget what anybody ever said. And personally, I'm not one to, make friends or feel like just because success is going on now, I'm going to forgive everybody. Like, nah. whatever you said at any point in time, I'm not really a forgiving type. So that's how I am. Dad's older, so he's more of he's more forgiving, and he always tell me be a little bit that way. But I just I wasn't talking about. I'm talking about overall. Like with the question you asked, that's overall. Like how I'm so laser focused and all the distractions and everything. It's just I just don't pay attention to really the cameras and everything, because all that stuff there. But I always remember I was just an HBCU kid that couldn't do it at a Power 5 level.
Cameron, last year defense was a huge point of discussion.